I started to work with him when I was probably about 12 years old. And I think I was in 6th grade, and my family knew Tsui Hark's wife, Nansen, and so I've always been interested in visual work, drawing, cartoons, comics, and then I started to get interested in filmmaking, and I thought it would be really good to be able to be involved on a film set or work on a film production. So I started to work during my summer vacations in Cinema City, where Tsui Hark and Nansen used to be pretty much stationed in that company. I left Hong Kong and went to study in Australia for about 3 years. After that, I was planning to go to film school in the United States, and I've enrolled in a university and was about to go and join a film school. Then on my way, like I came back to Hong Kong, and on my way to the United States, I bumped into Tsui Hark again at a party, and I mentioned to him that I was planning to go to film school. And his reaction was, don't go to film school, come and work with me. He believed that he spent many years throwing away the things he learned from film school. That's his exact words. So I started to join Film Workshop and worked with him for 12 years, many films. My relationship with Tsui Hark, and also my view of all these years of working, in Chinese it's kind of like entering the Shaolin monastery or temple, which is famous for Chinese martial arts, where a lot of the martial arts came from. And working in Film Workshop was kind of like entering this school of very harsh, very extreme, very difficult training to become a filmmaker. Tsui has an academic background for filmmaking. Like he went to film school in Dallas, and he has a lot of like theories or thoughts he's developed of making films. So besides my experience of actual hands-on working on filmmaking, there were times where he would sort of pass on these theories he had, particularly on script writing. But this was at the beginning when I worked. He would sometimes have these sessions where he would try to train. He had a team of script writers, which was named after the same name of a big nightclub in Hong Kong called the Big Spender. He used to call this group the Big Spender team, where it was a group of script writers who would work on different ideas, develop on different ideas, but also at the same time Tsui would pass on his thoughts or theories of script writing. So there was some kind of informal script writing classes that Tsui would host, and that's where I got my basic understanding of script writing, or according to Tsui's theory of script writing, that's how I learned script writing. And Blade was my first screenplay I wrote. In between those 12 years, I've worked on all sorts of positions on a film set. I started off as an assistant director. Then for Blade, I started to write screenplays. I also worked in post-production, sound design, and special effects, and directing sometimes on certain films. It's particularly on the Blade, like I remember the last day of shoot, we usually have a little sort of opening of champagne on the set, usually on every film. But Tsui in particular was so unhappy with, especially the last day of filming. He kind of, after the last shot, he actually turned around and hopped on the van and sort of stormed off the set. And the rest of us were kind of in tears on the set, feeling sort of happy to come out of this hell of a shoot, but also feeling, I think also feeling quite disappointed that after all this hard work, there wasn't a sense of appreciation that we all put out all this effort to create this work. It was quite disappointing, but that's Tsui. He's many years later, when we were working on Double Team in Nice, we used to go to this Chinese restaurant every night after shooting for dinner, and somehow they had a copy of The Blade, and I think it was in a different format, and they were playing it on the TV, and it was shown in black and white. And because of the disappointment of the film, we tried not to remember this disappointment of the reaction from the audience of the film. We sort of, after years after making that film, we never discussed the results or the reaction of the film until that night when we were in this little Chinese restaurant in Nice, and it was showing on this TV, this old TV set, and it was being shown in black and white. And I seem to recall Tsui kind of nodding and sort of turning over to me and sort of gently saying, "We made a pretty good film." I seem to remember that was one of the times that I felt he was pleased or satisfied with sort of the work we did together. And that moment in Nice is where I sort of least expected that to come up.